Patrick Hochstein. I'm an associate professor of philosophy at the University of Victoria. I mainly specialize in philosophy of science more generally, but specifically philosophy of neuroscience, philosophy of cognitive science, philosophy of psychology, and philosophy of mind. My research has tended to focus on issues related to cognitive ontology. So, what is the right way to classify or categorize cognitive phenomena? Is there only one right way, or is there in fact multiple correct ways for us to scientifically classify mental phenomena? I'm also very interested in the nature of scientific explanation, especially as it pertains to the study of the mind, as well as the study of levels in science. So when we talk about phenomena operating at different levels, what do we mean? How do we make sense of this within a scientific context? A lot of my work has also focused on the ways in which we use contradictory models to describe one and the same complex phenomenon. And when we have these contradictory models, they don't fit neatly together. But a lot of my work is trying to show how we can use these contradictory models to still build off one another, to constrain one another, and inform one another to provide a coherent picture of the world, even if the models themselves don't paint a coherent picture directly. So being here at the center at Pitt is a wonderful opportunity for me to, part of what I'm trying to do while I'm here is develop an account that ties together all of my past research into a general framework. Since all of these topics that I've worked on, they all dance around certain key issues related to our modeling practices, our explanatory practices as cognitive agents, and relationships between us, models, and the world. And so what I'm hoping to do while I'm here is provide an overall framework where what I'm proposing is something along the following. I think that what our best scientific theories tell us is that there is genuinely mind-independent structure out there in the world. There are causal dependencies, there are regularities, there are patterns, and they're genuinely there. We can manipulate them, we can control things, we can use them to control things, we can inhibit phenomenon, we can reproduce phenomenon. That is not on us. But I think that our ability to study these things always involves an element of interpretation on our part. And I think the reason for this is because given the way our brain functions, our brain gets very limited information from our senses. And so our brain doesn't know what's out there. And it has to make all kinds of best guesses about what it thinks is out there from all kinds of limited input, as well as past experience, and all kinds of commitments, metaphysical views we have, expectations we have, all of that go into trying to make sense of what's out there. And so we don't sort of passively just describe the world as it is. There's always an element of interpretation that comes along with cognition. And I think the same lesson applies to our scientific models and theories. Our models are always partially idealized, always partially abstract. They're incomplete. We interpret our models. The background assumptions of working scientists affect how they interpret the variables in their model, what they take their background conditions to be. And so because of this, I think that we are always going to be imposing something onto our understanding of the world. So I think that science does not merely map the pre-existing joints of reality. I worry that our categories and our concepts have to divide up the world in ways that the world might not cleanly fit into. So we have to sort of add divisions where there might not be, or see continuums where there's not, because the nature of the world may be such that it doesn't neatly conform to how we have to classify it. But that doesn't mean we can classify things arbitrarily. The world pushes back. There are structures and causal dependencies and regularities, and we can get them better and worse. And so I think what this means is there might be multiple correct ways to describe the world, but that doesn't mean there aren't lots of wrong ways, dictated by the structure of the world itself. And so where I think this leaves me is in a more complex story between how us as inquirers can learn about the world through almost a kind of reflective equilibrium, where we construct models, push them in the world, push them back, and that sort of shapes our ontology and our categorizational framework in ways that other alternative ways might work, but they only work if they're capturing what's there. And so I think this sort of picture, I think, has really interesting implications for ontology, for our understanding of natural kinds, and for our understanding of ourselves, for cognition and for the mind. So this is the kind of stuff I'm excited to work on while I'm here. And the center is just this fantastic place to be doing this kind of work. Not only because there are some great faculty members here doing just top-notch work in philosophy of physics and biology and neuroscience and cognitive science, but also because of the other fellows at the center, where the center feels almost like this way station where other scholars and academics, we can sort of get together and hash out ideas, where there's this sort of really sort of supportive, constructive environment, but also a place where people can push you on whether or not your work fits with the science or fits with the philosophy. And so that is just really, really lovely. And as someone who doesn't have a background in philosophy of, say, physics, having other fellows who do philosophy of physics or psychiatry or technology really sort of provides perspectives from other areas of science I hadn't considered. So to see whether my views fit with the kinds of work in other domains of science, both scientifically and philosophically, is just a wonderful opportunity. And so really, I think anyone who's doing work in philosophy of science, if you get an opportunity to come and be a fellow here, you should absolutely try for it, because this is really just a wonderful environment. Yeah, that's me here at the center.